Right. Hello, B-Siders. Welcome to a brand new episode of my podcast. I am so happy and thrilled you're here and appreciate you taking the time to listen to another half an hour or so of amazing music-related stories showcasing the power of music that it can have in our lives. And today I am joined by Billy Cole. Welcome, Billy. Thanks so much for hopping on and joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here with you today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Absolutely too. Now, Billy, you have some incredible stories to tell, I'm sure, but I'm just going to give a quick overview to my audience who you are so they have a little bit of an idea what's to come.
Okay.
And it's really just quick. You are the founder and owner of your own music instrument shop, which is called Cole's Woodwind and Brass Shop. That's correct, right?
That's
And
correct. Woodwind,
woodwind. Oh God,
as
yeah.
in saxophones, clarinets, brass as in trumpets.
Yes, I used to play the clarinet, so yeah,
Oh,
it's interesting instruments for sure. And the other thing that's amazing of what you've created over the years is you've founded Horns for Haiti, which you obviously have to tell us a little bit more about what that too and how that came about. So that's what you do and that's what you've created, but you've also written a book and it's called With the Band, Memoirs of a Music Shop Owner. So that already tells us you have more stories to tell, obviously from the book and maybe some that you haven't written yet. But yeah, I think that sums up what you do and what your life has been a little bit. Is there anything you want to add to that? Maybe explain a bit more?
well, that's really it in a nutshell. I was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
enjoying my band, and really was the center of my years in high school because I loved playing music. So when my music teacher found out I wasn't going to study music in college, she was a bit agitated actually, and she canceled my lesson and she said, "Go into the guidance office and you look at some music brochures for college." And and lo and behold, I came out with this brochure, Music Instrument Technology, and she encouraged me to check it out. My then girlfriend at the time, 15 years old, was encouraging me. We have 5 grandchildren now. Um, and so literally the next day I skipped school and I drove 2 hours out to Western New York State and interviewed for the position in the program. And it just all worked out where before I know it, before I knew it, rather, I was enrolled in Morrisville State College.
Wow,
And that's how it all began. When I
wonderful.
got out of school, it sounds like they released me, but when I received my diploma, um, I couldn't find a job, so I started my own shop temporarily, and that was 45 years ago. And so it's been a wonderful life, uh, filled with serendipity, opportunities, and things that came out of the blue. A lot of the music that I grew up with, like Chicago and Jethro Tull and the band, Todd Rundgren, were all groups that I loved. I wound up meeting most of them and working on the horns for the bands. And so that in itself is wonderful, but there's so much more to the story than that.
Mm.
And as you say, um, I I founded an organization called Horns for Haiti, and that came about from me working on some instruments for a local parish. They have a sister parish in Las Cajobos. So
Mhm.
what would happen is they would bring the horns from my shop, and this is going back to the '80s when I was much younger. They would they would have me check over the instruments, and I would send them down, and through them, of course, they would carry them down, and through the years that we've done it, we've sent quite a few horns down. So fast forward to 2015, and the coordinator for that program told me that most of the instruments were broken. And off the cuff, I just said, "Well, I'll go down and I'll fix them." And she said, "Would you?" And so that's how that came about. Um, my intention was to go only once. And when I got to the Holy Spirit School in Las Cajobos, uh, I found the young men there that I was teaching to be bright and engaging, quite talented. They were picking up repair techniques faster than I've ever taught before. So I knew I had to go back. And on the flight back to New York, I thought about the things that I could do. And that's where I came up with the title Horns for Haiti. And that just all played out. And I've got a wonderful board now. We're a tax exempt organization, and people are on fire to help us. So we've really made some grounds. We've created 2 businesses in Haiti, which for folks that don't know, Haiti is an island nation that's very impoverished. They're going through a lot of struggles now with civil unrest and coming out of the pandemic. So they're in a bad way right now. And so they need all the help they can get.
Yeah.
And that pretty much is my pride and joy right now. Uh, that organization. And
Yeah. It's wonderful. It's just amazing hearing all that and you being able to create that through just deciding to pick up a brochure back way back and deciding to go down that path. That's
mhm.
incredible. That's
Think about it, serendipity. One day, I'm going to be a carpenter's helper after I graduate from high school, and the next day I'm enrolled at the state university. Things
exactly.
happen fast, and sometimes you just have to act fast. You just have to act on those opportunities and not regret
Mhm.
it because you've tried.
Yes. And, now you obviously look back and you probably think, wow, music did all that, helped me create all that. It's that gives me goosebumps. I just love hearing these things because it just showcases that, you know, the power of music in itself. Just that is, yeah, incredible.
It's very powerful.
Yeah.
Um, it really is on, and I've had the front row seat for literally
Mm,
45 years, seeing how the power of music has changed other people's lives. And
mm,
maybe I had a small part um, with that by maybe fixing their horns or encouraging them or whatever. And I've seen a lot of things play out.
mm.
Um,
Yeah.
you're quite right.
Yeah. So do you remember the first artist you've met where you fixed their instrument for them?
I
Do you?
do.
Oh,
Um,
please tell.
yes. It My roommate from actually 2 roommates from my college. I have to set this up. One went on to be the road manager of Hall and Oates, and
Oh, really?
my other roommate was the piano technician for Hall and Oates. They in themselves went on to a great career. Um, Mike Havana is now the keyboard player for Billy Joel,
Oh,
and Phil Romano, who is again my roommate. When I wrote my book, I had to hunt him down because I wrote a lot about our college years, and as same with Mike, I needed to talk to Phil to tell him I wrote about you. I want you to read it, make sure it's all right,
yeah.
and I couldn't find him. So through another schoolmate, I found out he was touring with Paul McCartney for the last 15 years as his piano technician. So we all went on, you know, those guys should write a book. I mean, what
Yes,
the bands that they've met, and so
absolutely.
that in itself is the power of music. But getting back to the first time we went backstage, Mary Alice was pregnant for our second child, who lives right down the road from you in Mount Martha, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I get this call from Mike, and he says, um, "Yeah, we have a trombone we need fixing. Can you come out and fix it? I'm with Hall and Oates, and we're in Holyoke, Massachusetts." And I said, "Yeah, sure. I'll throw some tools in the car. I'll come out." And so Daryl Hall was playing a trombone for one song, um, and somebody had sat on the slide the night before. So Mary Alice and I drove out to Holyoke, Massachusetts, like 2 hours away, and I fixed the trombone on the dressing room table. That's our really first backstage experience. We didn't really get to talk to him much, but we were hanging out backstage with him a bit, and that story's in the book as well. So that's
Oh.
really the first time, and then second time was soon after when the manager for Jeff Hotel called me at the shop on a Saturday afternoon. It's like 2 o'clock, and I close on 2 o'clock, like right on time. I'm out of there at 2. So he called me at 10 of, and he just didn't announce who he was. He just said, we're playing in town tonight. We have a flute that is broken. Is there any way you can fix it? And I looked at the clock and I said, I'm here for like 10 minutes. If you can get over here right now, I'll be happy to mend your instrument. So he says, oh, fantastic. He said, I'll be right over. I'm with Jethro Tull Group. And of course I'll wait for you. So that was my first experience fixing Ian Anderson's flute. And there would be others, in my career like that. So,
Wow.
and the stories go on and on. But,
Yeah.
you know,
Wow.
it's
That's
been a wonderful life.
absolutely amazing. Oh, I can't find the words to really express how exciting it is to just hear those stories. It's so fun, so
And just
great.
be part of it is
Yeah.
wonderful. Um, and you've played the clarinet, and that's a big part of what I do. I fix clarinets and as well as saxophones and flutes.
Hmm.
And in the summertime in Saratoga Springs, there's a big um, amphitheater type of venue where um, major groups like Chicago will come, and
Wow.
Philadelphia Orchestra will call it their home for 2 weeks, and the New York City Ballet. So that just brings in tons of musicians, and a lot of them that I met through the years, and
Mm.
call on me whenever they need something. So,
Mm.
you know, a good place in Saratoga Springs.
Yeah. I was just about to say, it looks like you picked the right spot at the right time. So it's like, fate had like this in mind for you when you started this career path. That's how it comes across to me anyway.
And
That's
I landed in Saratoga Springs quite serendipitous as well.
mm-hmm.
I had my shop where I had 6 employees and had this huge shop, and um, it was really getting the best of me. I didn't like it. I was spending more time with my employees and making sure business was all in order than I was on the bench, and I didn't like it at all. So my
Mm.
wife said to me, you always wanted to have a shop in Saratoga Springs. Let's get in the car right now and drive up the road, and it's about a
Mm-hmm.
half an hour away. Let's see how that all plays out. So we did. We went up to Saratoga Springs, found a place real quick to set up shop, and just within a couple of weeks, I moved. And
Wow.
today it's just myself and my son, who is my apprentice,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very small and very manageable and a whole lot of fun still.
Oh, that's what you want. You want it to be fun and keep that passion alive for what you originally started doing. So is
That's
your
right.
son intending to take over your business at some point? Is that what he feels like he
We
wants to
don't
do?
talk about it much, really, he knows that he can take over the business, and he probably will.
Mm-hmm.
And for him, who knows? Maybe he'll put some guitars up on the wall, but we've made a name, and I say we because my whole family has always been involved, even though they're
Mm.
not always working at the shop. Um, we're quite we're known throughout the Northeast, and
Mm.
and a bit around the country, and even around the world in certain circumstances. So yeah, it's his to take over if you'd like, and so time will tell.
Wonderful. That sounds really incredible and amazing that, your whole family was so involved and still is in creating obviously this magic that a lot of us music lovers who go to concerts, we don't realize that this is actually happening in the background a lot. That, we see the guitars being tuned and we can see the drums being, done when
Sure.
you wait for the band to come on. But then any other instrument, I don't think I was aware that they all needed fine tuning as well and managing. So
Well, I grew up with this rock and roll, and we've seen hundreds of concerts over the years. But when I was younger, I always envisioned the backstage being like one big party, right?
mm,
Before this, it's not like that at all. Everybody's working; they're getting ready to play, and and they've got
mm-hmm.
that on their mind. They're not nobody's partying. Um, and then afterwards, it's the big chill down where everybody just relax. Maybe they'll go
Mm-hmm.
out for a rest. And we've accompanied some bands to different different places after the show and relaxed and talked, and
Mm.
it's been really quite interesting. So I still get a huge kick out of it because a lot of these people I listened to as a young man. Um,
Yeah.
my son, however, grew up with this, so he's more chill. He's more used to this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, we go backstage for Jethro Tull, and him and Ian Anderson are talking about how his son is a drummer as well, and they've got this conversation going like it's just like he's anybody else, and I'm like,
Mm.
just I'll be over here if you need me.
And that's what I always try to say to myself. And I know I admit I'm the first one to kind of get emotional if I meet someone like a musician that I really admire and I listen to for ages. But I really get very emotional about it. But then I got to remind myself, well, they're just human beings like you and I. The only difference
Absolutely.
is they actually put themselves on a big stage and share their creativity with the world. That's kind
Hmm.
of the difference there is. And I applaud them for it because I don't know if I could do it, being on stage and doing what they do.
It's not
Yeah.
easy. They have to be on it every single night, whether they're having a good day or a bad day, and they go out there
Yes,
and they give their best. And
exactly.
for me to see it on the sidelines has been a gift. Just to
Mm,
see it all play out before you, see
yeah.
what they go through, and their support team with the roadies and the technicians.
Mm,
They're artists themselves for
mm,
sure. Um,
yeah. Now, I've just been thinking about the start of your journey. Obviously, you told us a little bit about how you took the path you did. But was there someone or were there some people early on that saw your potential and that kind of nourished you and supported you and kind of gently pushed you or guided you in that direction? Do you remember any of those people?
I do, and in the book I call them my angels.
Oh,
They kind of appear, and some disappear. Some stay with me all my has stayed with me all my life.
mm-hmm.
Um, my music teacher was the very first person to encourage me to think outside the box and go for something you love. Um, and so she's she was my first angel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Along with my wife, really was my first angel because at 15 years old, she was encouraging me. Would you like to do this job, or would you like to go to school to learn how to repair instruments? I said, I kind of want to do that, but I don't really think my parents are going to go for that. She would say, just do it. Get in the car and go out there. Don't tell your parents, just go. And I did. And when I walked into Morrisville, um, at the Morrisville office, the coordinator was sizing me up and like looking around, seeing where are this kid's parents. Um, I, and so And those are the two women in my life that really got me started. And then as my career started, I would have these people encourage me. Um, you've heard the Glenn Miller Orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the trombonist, one of the original trombonists for that band,
Wow.
lives in Troy, New York. He's since passed, but at the time he lived in Troy, New York. He was a music teacher. He had gotten off the road to raise a family. He's like one of the original members of the band. How cool is that? And he would come to me, and I would fix his slide, and I would charge him, I don't know, $25 or something at the time. And he would say, that is not enough, young man. You need to charge more, because if you're to be taken seriously, you have to charge a premium price. Then they'll take you seriously. And so it was good advice, because I found that to be true over and over again. Pricing is everything. And he
Hmm.
would continue to encourage me. And he played in venues where if a major act came in, like I'm trying to think of a major singer act, would they would bring in local union members to play the gig, and while he was there, he would say, "Hey, by the way, if you need somebody to fix your instrument, Billy Cole's down the road. He can help you out." So that started the word of mouth, and
Hmm.
just who would just give me work when they really didn't even need to give me work. They were just trying to support me. So you'll
Yeah.
see the angels through that book. There's too
Yeah.
many to mention right now.
That's, yeah, just wonderful. The other question I wanted to ask you is, and obviously because I've played instruments, I kind of can relate to that. But for those who might not play an instrument, what would you say is the magic of learning how to play an instrument and care for an instrument?
They have to have an idea first of all, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll go back to my um, childhood, where I always wanted to play the drums, and they
Mm-hmm.
said, "No, there's too many drummers. You need to play the trumpet." So I took on the trumpet, and I absolutely hated it. Of course, I didn't excel with it. I barely practiced the thing until I played the drums, and finally the music teacher says, "Okay, you can play the drums, but you have to play the cymbals in the marching band for a year before you sit down on the set." And I said, "Okay, that's fine with me." And so I'm a drummer, and so the point of this story is that there has to be a spark there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I love it when kids come into my shop and they say, I'm going to play an instrument next year in fourth grade. And I'll say, "All right, look around. What do you say? What would you like to play?" And then they might look at a saxophone and go, "I like that." And I said,
Mm-hmm.
"Okay, let's put a strap around and let them hold it." And you see this smile come on their face. You know, who knows if it'll last? Maybe after a month, I'll say, "I hate this thing," but then you can
Mm-hmm.
try clarinet or trombone or trumpet. So you really got to let the leash out, so to speak, for the children to see what they would like to try, and then encourage them,
Mm-hmm.
and coax them to keep practicing until they're over that hump where they're actually playing music in the band. Because there is a little hump there where
Mm-hmm.
you're practicing scales, and you're like, "All right, this isn't so much fun." But as soon as you start playing with the band and you start communicating musically with other musicians, that's
Mm-hmm.
when they get hooked, for sure.
Mm. That's when you sort of get almost addicted, isn't it? Because it's,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. That's true though, because I do remember, because I grew up in Switzerland, and you can learn to play an instrument for free in school. And usually it's like just a normal flute. And we had Christmas concerts. So we all played like Christmas songs, like four or five of us. And it was incredible when you actually hear everyone playing the instrument and you're together. It's just a wonderful feeling of connectedness, not just with the people you play with, but also obviously parents were there, and it just leaves you feeling all nice and fuzzy, doesn't it? I mean, that's how it felt like to me. So,
Yes, you described it perfectly. It is. It's just that first concert.
mm,
Um, People ask me, "What is it like fixing an instrument for somebody who's just going to be going on stage at a major arena or something? What is that like?" And I said, "Of course, it's it's very rewarding and satisfying knowing I helped something." But I said, "But it is in any case, it could be a fourth grader. He's going into his first Christmas concert. His grandparents are going to be there, and aunt and uncles are going to be there, his sister and brother. This is big.
mm,
If the instrument breaks and you're able to fix it hours before the concert, it's like you're the guy, you're the hero." So it really doesn't make a difference who you are. If you
yeah.
want to play that instrument and you can't play it because it's broken, and somebody comes along and helps you, it's a pretty nice position to be in, for sure.
Mm. Is that what you feel like the power of music is, or part of the power of music, that you can help others create magic, or give them that spark? Or is what do you see as the power of the music,
It
apart from
comes in
us
all
listening,
forms.
obviously?
It comes in all forms. So we've talked about how it's rewarding for the individual to play in a band and communicate. For me, it's what brought me to high school, who kept me in high school. I wasn't a very good student for different personal reasons, but the band I loved. So that was music changed my life in that sense. When I traveled to Haiti, um, there is music from the time you wake up at 5 o'clock. The roosters are crowing, the dogs are starting to bark, and the motorcycles are starting to go down the street, and you've got all these sounds. And amongst all these sounds, in the distance, in one of the churches, you hear a choir start to sing, and of course they're singing in Haitian Creole, and they're the most angelic, beautiful voices that you've ever heard. And I just lay there, listen, and these are people who have next to nothing, but they have every talent, the biggest talent in the world. So they have that as their goal. That's their richness to their life is their music, and and that music will play out all day long, whether it be on the back of a motorcycle. The children will assemble in the courtyard right underneath the balcony where I'm staying, and they'll start singing the national anthem. And then the band is rehearsing, and the church choirs, music all day long, changing people's lives in a place where you wonder sometimes how can they survive all the heartache between and the lack of food, the lack of water. Um, it's just so that is a major way that I've seen music change people's lives. And a lot of the children who are normally out on the streets come in to play music in the band. It's changing their lives. That is really only one big example, really.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good example, though. And I guess for me, it's a reminder that to be grateful for what we have, and if we can give a bit of extra from ourselves, then let's at least try. And there's always a way we can do it, even if we think it might sound a little bit silly or crazy or ridiculous. You never know, it might be exactly what that other person needs. And obviously
You
you
don't.
with
We have the mindset that we need to give money here or there, and that is important. Give a little bit to organizations or whatever. But the most powerful gift is the gift of yourself. So if you could volunteer sometime and give back some of the talent that God gave you to somebody else, share it that way. That's the most precious gift. And it's a gift that keeps on giving, because then you wind up getting something back, and it just keeps on going and going. And you don't have to get on a plane to help somebody. You can just spill out onto your street and walk down the street. Maybe an older lady who lives down the street or whatever, and some kind words, and just to listen to them, it is powerful.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, yeah. And for me, I'm personally, on a personal level, for me, that's what music does to me almost on a daily basis. There's always a song or an artist that can help me in some shape or form. And that's generally free, unless obviously I subscribe to a certain subscription platform or whatever it is. But yeah, that's what I find so incredible about music is most of the artists I listen to, they don't even know I exist. But that doesn't matter because they help me. And I appreciate them for that. And, hopefully someone does tell them that they're doing incredible work, not just the creativity and them going on tour and, playing when they're sick and when they don't feel like it. But, that's, yeah, I do wish sometimes I could convey that to my favorite artists, saying thank you for just doing what you do, because there were moments where I wouldn't say you saved my life. That's a bit dramatic, but you helped me turn a corner when I needed
Help
it.
you get through a day.
Yeah.
You are helping them by supporting them, by downloading their music, or buying a CD if anybody does that anymore. Um, but just it's spreading the
Mm.
words, the message that they're putting out. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you are supporting them. You don't have to be knocking on their door saying, "I love you so much," and
It's a
you
bit
know,
creepy sometimes, I think.
it happens. People get emotional.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, I remember being backstage with Garth Hudson. Now, Garth Hudson was a member of the band, the famous band called The Band. I mean, they were Bob Dylan's backup band back in the day. And I grew up listening to their music and receiving their message, if you will, and
Mm-hmm.
just loving it. And and I, as I started my business, I met him quite different. It just happened where I met him through another musician, and we became very good friends. So as a result, I could go backstage many times to just hang out with him. And one time, I was I was backstage with him when we were in his dressing room, and he's got his big black hat on, his signature black hat that he plays when he plays the organ on stage. And a lady, maybe 40, 50-ish or whatever, she snuck backstage and she found Guard's dressing room, and she opened the door and she said, "Oh my God, it's Garth Hudson. I love you so much." And she kept on going, and he would go, "Thank you, thank you. You don't realize you changed my life. Thank you,
Oh
thank you."
gosh,
And then
yeah.
finally, security came by and said, "Ma'am, you really need to leave. You're not supposed to be here. Goodbye, goodbye, bye." And she's leaving, and Garth just looks at me and goes, "I still got it."
I love that. At first I thought, oh, he sounds a bit annoyed that she's there, like, played it really
He
cool.
wasn't.
That's
He really
awesome.
wasn't annoyed. He was just trying to just appease her, and okay, it's
Yeah,
okay. I'm just a
yeah.
guy that plays the
That
organ.
place. Yeah, yeah. Oh God. Funny stories. Yeah. And there are probably similar stories that might be in your book, which is available for anyone that wants to read about your part of that's a little bit of that world that most of us will never see unless you're in that industry. So yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds
it's
absolutely
definitely
incredible.
a glimpse into the industry, and
Mm,
I've had the privilege of being um, backseat to it, really,
mm-hmm.
behind the scenes, and witnessing it all and being a part of it. It's wonderful for
Yeah,
sure. If they're interested in checking it out, at least it's on Book Baby, and the Book Baby
yeah,
um, website.
yeah.
It's called
We'll
With the Band by Billy Cole.
Yeah, I'll
And
definitely put
he's
the link in the description. So anyone that wants to check it out and purchase it, please find the link. It will be there.
yeah.
Now, this might be a bit of a hard question, but I still got to ask it. Do you have a favorite band at all, or is that hard to narrow down for you? Because obviously you've met all the incredible bands along the way, but is there one that kind of stands out to you, and why?
Boy, that's like choosing one of your children as your favorite children.
I know, so
No,
sorry.
no, it's a great question. It really is. But I, I think it's whenever I'm in the moment. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the days where I went to see the band, I just would stare at them, going, "I can't believe I'm seeing these guys live, and I've never mind knowing them."
Mm-hmm.
When Mary Alice was 16 years old and I was 17, we went to see Chicago and sat on the grass in front of the amphitheater. And 40 years later, they're sitting in the VIP seats and kind of look at each other, going, "Yeah, we've come a long way." You know. So again, when I'm in that moment listening to Chicago, it invokes all these memories. Todd Rundgren, I loved him as a teenager, and here I
Mm,
am sitting downstage, and they're rehearsing before the European tour, and I'm fixing Bobby Strickland's saxophone. I mean,
mm,
then I hear him play, and then he's my favorite band. You understand?
mm.
see the New York City Ballet, and their orchestra is playing, and I just worked on that clarinet, and he has one note, it's just hanging, and it's going over the audience, and I'm listening to it, and I go, just worked on that key, and that to know that you had a minute something
Mm,
minute to do with that to that concert is really very
mm.
rewarding. And so, yeah,
I've actually got goosebumps when you talked about that because I'm really trying to imagine what that must feel like. And yeah, it must be so wonderful. And yeah, you being able to look back and say, wow, I followed my passion and this is where it led me. So I
and
think
this
that's,
is the reward. Sure.
yeah. So that to me is almost a lesson for everyone saying, if you have a passion, try to follow it and see where it leads you. You never know where you end up.
It's so true. And don't be afraid to follow, because there's nothing wrong with it. If the path goes off to the left or the right, you
Mm,
still got place because you started out trying something and giving it a chance. So it's
yeah.
so important to um to just do it and don't worry too much about it. If I have any regrets at all, it's I worried too much through the years. And now that I look back, I didn't have to worry because
Hmm.
it was like a predestined path, and I was just following it. I just sort of just had 100% faith and just go
Mm,
for it, not worrying.
yeah.
Thank God I went. I did what I did, but still, I probably would have worried a lot less if I had a little more faith in myself.
I think that's probably something we all struggle from, this faith in ourselves, which, yeah, obviously, can be a bit silly, but it's also understandable sometimes, you
It's part
know.
of being human, you know.
Exactly right. Yeah. So obviously then my question about you having a favorite song is a bit silly because you have many bands you love with many songs that they've written and performed that you obviously love. But do you have one at the moment that you listen to a lot? A song or a band? What moment are you in? What band moment are you in?
I've been listening to Billy Joel a lot in the car,
Mm,
and and that's pretty much what I'm kind of stuck on right now. But
a great choice, I think. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, a question that just popped in my head now was obviously you grew up with a lot of um, what I call the time when bands were really great and live music was, I think, at its peak. What do you make out of the music and the artists these days? Because it feels like to me there's not so much, what's the word like? There's not, that's why I'm saying not so much importance on actually the bands, like the instruments and the music. It feels like there's a lot of computers and synthesizers and whatever else there is. Is that what you
there
see
is,
from where you're at?
yes, it's very processed, and that's by design. They want to get as many people as they can to buy the music, of course.
Mm,
But we have to remember, if we could just go back to the 60s, like when bands called the band were playing with Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, Carly
mm,
Simon. They were nobody starting out, and their voices alone um, brought them to fame.
mm-hmm,
So it wasn't a package deal. They laid their talent out. And the reason I say this is because there's just so many young artists out there that just because they're not on a major label doesn't mean we shouldn't check them out.
mm-hmm.
There's a group called Hold On Honeys that just wrote a song about two young men in Haiti who started a repair shop, and they they wrote this beautiful song, and I think you could probably get it on Cafe Lena's website.
Okay,
It's on YouTube, Cafe Lena, under True Songs, and the name is Hold On Honeys.
okay. Go and check them out.
Check it out. It's called Billy Shop. Is the name of the song. That's only one example. Here are three young ladies who could play major arenas in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And there's hundreds, if not thousands, of groups. I called on honeys that we should check out, go see them play, pay the ticket price.
Mm-hmm.
And the ticket prices, even if it's $40, $50, it's better than some of these prices are hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a rock and roll ticket. I think that's sacrilegious myself. But, you know, it's
Yeah.
music. We should have to mortgage our houses to hear it. So,
Mm.
so I guess that's my message. Check out your local talent. There's so much talent out there.
Mm.
And that's how you're going to increase the quality of music, is give them a chance. Let them come rise up to the top rather than repackaged bands and
Mm.
bands that made up by
Yeah.
corporations that say this is what you have to listen to. You know, so that's my
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's very,
that's me.
very true. Very true. Right. Well, I loved our chat. It was really incredible to hear some of your stories that you've experienced over the years. And obviously, for me personally, your passion that led you to all of this, which is for me the power of music. And we all can have a little chunk of it in some shape or form. And if we just follow our passion, if we have a passion for music, there's always a way or something we can do with and for it. And I think you've beautifully conveyed that in our chat. So thank you
Well,
very
thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Yes.
And thank you for what you do. So I'm looking forward to hearing more of your podcast and the things that you do. And now you have another fan.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Well,
No, it's always wonderful to meet humans like yourself. And I'm just a very passionate listener. I just love listening to stories. And if they're music, I'm all ears. I get like big elephant ears. Well, I will put obviously the link for your book in the episode description. Please check it out. I will look up that song as well and pop that link in there too, so everyone can go and check it out. And let's try to support our local artists a little bit more, which, yeah, I've had in another episode as well, that message, which is a nice, not coincidence, but it had to come through. And I would say that's it, unless you have any last words, but I'll leave it up to you, Billy, if you want to say anything before we finish up.
just simply thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you and a pleasure meeting you. And keep up the good work.
Well, thank you. Well, same to you. Keep it up.
Well,
All right, my B-siders, this is it. Thank you again for joining in. Please let me know if you enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment and yeah, subscribe to the podcast if you haven't yet. And otherwise, I'll be back in your earbuds very, very soon with another episode. Until then, you keep on dancing and keep on rocking, and I'll talk to you again very soon. Until then, bye.
goodbye.